Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines. We got ETHgate today. We got Coinbase possible bankruptcy. We're talking about that. It's not off the table. European Commission Vice President on Bitcoin ban. You're going to want it. World Economic Forum Davos coming up. SEC versus Ripple trial of the century. And by the way, who's going to bring this thing in for a landing? We had a poll yesterday. We'll give you the results of that. And we got more information to look at. We're going to also hear from the Government Blockchain Association discussing what the real rub to this trial of the century with the SEC versus Ripple really is, and you're going to want every single bit of it. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at Dig Perspectives at the top of the screen and everything that we're talking about here today. And give us a follow on TikTok at Digital Perspectives, no spaces. 1.3 trillion is where we're at this morning, ladies and gentlemen. Bitcoin 30,400 slightly there. And we see Ethereum at 2,000 plus slightly. And XRP is sitting at 43 cents this morning. And I tell you, it's amazing. It's held that number 6 spot with everything that is going on in the market. We've got a lot to discuss this morning. The range of price right now is 42 on the low end and 44 on the top. We'll keep an eye on it. This high-risk environment, I've said it many times, I love working with Glint, and they are really starting to get a lot of traction now, ladies and gentlemen. Jason Cousins, the CEO of Glint Pay, now appearing on Newsmax. I just want you to hear this 20-second clip. I say it, but listen to Newsmax say it.
Well, step aside crypto. As the price of gold increases, many investors have retreated to using gold as an alternative to paper currency.
Glint, a British fintech with an app and a debit card, enables users to save, exchange, and spend in physical gold and multiple currencies.
And that is the truth right there. Now, I will tell you this. I'm not retreating from crypto. I'm diversifying in crypto. That's what's happening. And that's why I love Glint Pay. It allows me to have a debit card attached to my physically allocated gold. And I absolutely love it. And I can store dollars on there too and go back and forth between the two if I choose, or hold both. And you can do the same. Make sure you check out the link underneath the video. Right here, we start with some ETHgate news right here. And this is Wheezy. Nerd Nation is sharing this. This is Valerie Hispanic. Let's hear this quick clip here about how she explains how this all comes about with getting things done with the SEC. Take a listen.
But I think it's important to engage with the regulators. And I think we do have good engagement with the folks here on this panel and otherwise who are thinking thoughtfully about these types of things.
Oh, yeah. So it's all about getting on these panels, she's saying. And John Deaton really calls it out for what it is. He says, no, Val, because that's Valerie Hispanic from the SEC. That's not what happened. Lubin, Joseph Lubin, hired Clayton's firm, Sullivan Cromwell, and Clayton directed Hinman to reach out, which he did with Amy Starr, you and others, and met on December 2017, January 2018, and March 2017, and April 2018, May 2018, and June 8, 2018. Then on June 14, 2018, we saw William Hinman give the free pass to Ethereum. Don't believe it. All of that is still true. Now take a look at this. On the same day that the SEC announces the lawsuit against Ripple, they announce Delia Blass is leaving the SEC. Nothing is a coincidence here. You see the charges were brought here on the day, December 22nd, 2020, approaching 2 years. And we also see Delia Blass to conclude her tenure as director of the Division of Investment and Management. Now, with that, let's take a look at this, because we also find out from Nerd Nation and the amazing work that he's doing, why is Delia Blass receiving a draft of the Hinman speech while her husband David Blass was the partner of Simpson Thacher? Conflict of interest much? You're damn right. Incestuous nature of these conflicts only gets worse. It really does. So Delia is married, working at the SEC, and married to the guy who is the partner at Simpson Thacher. Now think about this. I mean, you The knee bone is connected to the leg bone. At any rate, let's change gears, but that just shows you the ETHgate just keeps getting deeper and deeper and more connected. And this is what we're able to find publicly. Imagine what we could find with subpoenas once John Deaton has the power to have them. You know, one has to wonder about Coinbase slows hiring to help weather market turndown. Now, this is really, you know, falling in line with those bankruptcy rumors and slowing down on hiring. I have to ask the question here. One has to wonder if a big bank or Fidelity will come in and buy Coinbase for pennies on the dollar. With the SEC and Goldman Sachs' Gary Gensler, it is a party to play. It is a part of the pay-to-play world after all. And that really is what we're talking about, a pay-to-play world. And, you know, you can't help, and I certainly can't help but feel like, you know, Gary is facilitating that. He did not bring the case to the SEC, but certainly his actions and lack of clarity are creating the suppression of the cryptocurrency market broadly. And I tell you, it is shameful what he's doing, and no one's stopping him. But we got a lot to discuss. This is a real good thread that I have on my Twitter. I'm not going to read it to you, but it's a guy who got wrecked on the Beanstalk farms, and he's talking to people who got wrecked on Terra and Luna. I got wrecked a little bit. I came in after, and it got even worse. But you know what? It's a chance I was willing to take. But nevertheless, for those who really have been harmed here, he reminds you that true wealth is good health. And he goes on to talk about, however corny you may think that is, to focus on your health and also to focus on learning if you've gotten burned or wrecked, in creating a plan for yourself to how you would manage that going forward in your other assets and other investments in your portfolio going forward. Have a plan to take profits. That's why I have a shallow bag for me and Mrs. Backup, and I do plan to take it at some point, but we're going to discuss, you know, where that price point is. We've had a couple price points we talked about, but nevertheless, we do have a plan in place here. Now, this is something stinks right here, but you know what? I've said this a long time. I think that Jeremy Allaire, Circle, and the USD coin is in fact going to be adopted and crowned, if you will, the unofficial or the official at some point US dollar for the retail side of the market. That's just my personal belief, maybe even deeper than that. But nevertheless, I just want you to hear this quick clip. There's two, but I want you to hear this one because he lays it down exactly. He knew Terra was not going to work.
Thanks for having me on. Really a lot to talk about, obviously. I think, you know, what has unfolded with these unstable stablecoins such as UST was entirely predictable. Our own analysis from, you know, a very long time ago suggested that the footing that this was on was really based on, you know, subsidizing these yields, which was really driving people to kind of buy this Luna token, create these UST tokens, put them in this 20% interest rate, which was too good to be true. And as you know, the founder kind of moved from point to point to try and resuscitate it, it was clear that this was very risky. And in any kind of meaningful market contraction, just the way that this was structured, it could face a death spiral. And so that.
Well, you know, Jeremy, I appreciate the observation. Could have used you a week ago, right? You know, but nevertheless, he's making a great point. And obviously the point here is also that he has the ability to sit here and tell you these things because USD coin is highly regulated. So he is poised for this position, and I believe he will get it. Looking right here, there's a bigger reminder here that it's not just US Terra. You know, Mark Phillips made the comment, and I meant to grab the tweet. Shout out to Mark Phillips. But he made the comment that he doesn't believe, or poses a question at least, you know, that any U.S. stable coin outside of the United States will not be allowed to exist. And I think he may be on to something. The New York Supreme Court has rejected Tether's petition to block the public from receiving documents detailing the composition of Tether's reserves over the past few years. And then there's this from Linda P. Jones and Gold Telegraph, $7.6 billion of Tether has been redeemed since the beginning of last week. It temporarily lost its pegging as well. Tether refuses to disclose the specifics of its backing as it does not want to give up its $75 billion secret sauce. The jokes continue to write themselves. And it really does. I mean, this is not the way it's going to go, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about a representation of the U.S. dollar. This whole, no, we're not showing you what's in the back office and what's in the vaults here, that is not going to be an acceptable answer. Don't believe that. It's still true. And here's the European Commission's executive vice president talking about banning Bitcoin.
One of the most, I think, thought-provoking things concerning crypto is that we're in a very serious energy crisis, and yet crypto is still being mined with enormous energy use as a consequence. We are watching crypto very carefully. Also, my colleague, Mairead McGuinness, who is responsible for this area. So remains to be seen. But obviously, it's an issue that we will watch very carefully. And right now, with the energy prices and with the need to supply industry and homes with energy, of course, thought-provoking that the crypto sector can continue.
That is a compelling argument, and I'm telling you, I start to look at, and have since he said it, when Chris Larsen said Bitcoin needs to move from proof of work to proof of stake, I said this was not a maxi comment that Chris Larsen was making. He's trying to help. Let's get the crosshairs off of Bitcoin's back and move it to proof of stake. Why wouldn't you want to do that? We all know, if you've been in this space any length of time, having proof of work is not necessary to run a blockchain. It is obvious at that point. Just like we don't need VHS tapes today. Yes, you can still get a VCR machine. Yes, you can still watch something on a VCR tape. But you don't need to. You can just stream it. Take a look right here. Yesterday, they had the meeting with the president of El Salvador, and it was 32 central banks, 12 financial authorities from 44 countries, specifically discussing Bitcoin. I have to say, I hope they're privy to the European Commission vice president and what they're thinking. I do believe that this becomes a huge catalyst for the governments around the world to realize we don't have the time that we thought we did. Because if we continue to delay and try to create these 2030 goals, I believe you're going to watch the expansion and adoption of Bitcoin as legal tender, and you are going to see some catastrophic trouble happen economically because of it. I don't think that Bitcoin is really set up for payments. We know that the Lightning Network, unfortunately, I wish it was better news, CNBC has proven through their reporting that it's not working the way it really is intended to in El Salvador. So if you see 32 other central banks and 44 other countries start to begin to adopt this and bring this into their economy and to their people as a legal tender offering, I think you're seeing a setup for a huge catastrophe, to be honest with you. And you have to wonder, with the upcoming World Economic Forum Davos, we know what their agenda is, and as creepy as it is, it's what it is. And their meeting, May 22nd, 26. What do you think they'll be discussing? And how to produce, store, trade, and consume energy, carbon credits on the blockchain, using utility, use case, digital currencies. Yeah, XRP, XLM. I think so. Stuart Young's got it. Energy-related emission reduction. Look at all the goals here. More importantly, we know that many of the countries around the world are a part of this creepy organization. We ain't stopping it, right? The thing is does the projects you are invested in align with the goals of the global agenda? Because that is what we are watching unfold. You and I can feel how we want about it personally, but you know what? I think the biggest goal is I want to make my family not rich, extremely wealthy, so I can get somewhere and get off on our own little piece of land and be where we need to be. I don't want to get sidetracked, but there's things coming, and it's quite obvious to me. This is an older article here from back in the day, but I'm glad that it was shared here by Zambetta. And this is from Forbes and Rosalind Layton, who's done an amazing job of covering this entire case. But let me just say this. I want to point this out. There's been a little news here on an update, which is just simple as this. It's SEC versus Ripple parties filed joint request for extension of time regarding attorneys' fees connected to Met supplemental report. They both agree. And this really just lends more credence to me that what we're dealing with, the motion has been granted in a text order only. Any motion for attorney's fees as described in court, April 19, 2022, is due by May 27th, 2022. Now, we're not even talking about a significant amount of money or anything like that here, but what we are talking about is these coordinated extensions and then the SEC delays. You know, I believe all of this could mean that we're either already dealing with some kind of backroom talks for a settlement, and they're very close, so they do the delays so they can get themselves to where they need to be on the final details. Maybe it's not that. Maybe they're having trouble, and the delays are to try to keep the door open for talks, but nothing comes to fruition, and it comes down to summary judgment. Who knows? It could be. What I want to give to you is this. The SEC suit does not allege fraud. I want to remind people of that, but it seeks unspecified damages and to ban Brad and Chris, the executives from Ripple, from participation in the digital asset market trades. The case appears to impugn one of the few positive aspects of Clayton's 2017 statement on cryptocurrencies and initial coin offerings, noting that these disruptive, transformative, and efficiency-enhancing technologies could facilitate capital formation and provide promising investment opportunities for institutional and mainstream investors alike. More largely, the case reaffirms Clayton's statements in which he claimed supreme SEC authority to regulate every digital asset imaginable, regardless of its design, intention, or use, for which Gary Gensler still carries the torch today. Then it comes down to this. Is it a currency or security, right? Well, you know what? First of all, let's get to this poll, because this is the poll that we took to ask everyone, you know, what does this case come down to? Does the Supreme Court, will it settle? Will it be a summary judgment, or will it be dropped and the U.S. Treasury deems the XRP ledger systemically important as a value protocol? Well, I was surprised here by the results. 45% said settle, which I was not surprised. But when I saw as much as 17% considering the U.S. Treasury adopting the value protocol, and 16% for the Supreme Court, 20% for summary judgment, I tell you, I think these are really compelling ideas and possible outcomes. You know, we could see a summary judgment where Ripple wins in this, SEC appeals this, and then it goes all the way to the Supreme Court. But as long as Ripple has a win that allows it to operate, it can take as long as it wants to get to the Supreme Court, as long as Ripple is allowed to do business. So that part I don't mind. Summary judgment. The thing is that with summary judgment, it's going to come down to these judges, this judge, and what they think of this case. If we really are talking about a value protocol that is going to be adopted by governments around the world to have use of the decentralized exchange, the XRP ledger, and settle with the XRP token as a bridge, are we really going to let it come down to we hope the judge gets it right? Or will the SEC actually drop the case, giving the door to be open, for which we have seen FSOC be activated by Elizabeth Warren, that they should act before the emerging threats of stable coins exist? And then you say to yourself, Brad, that's over stable coins. Well, I say to you, audience, the World Bank has said for a fact they see XRP and XLM as stable coins that have the best parity to all other currencies. So there is the argument right there for the Treasury to come in and use a stablecoin designation by systemically important designation to adopt the value protocol, the XRP ledger. Or do we see a settlement? And in that settlement, do we get the clarity that we need that XRP is not a security? And then you have to wonder, if we are a security, do they go for the angle of making it a bond of the XRP ledger and all the collateral and utility that moves and placed on it? It would not ever be a share of Ripple. There are shares of Ripple, and you can get them on Linkto. So there is where we are on this. But listen to this, because this is the government Blockchain Association, the GBA. Here you go. Take a listen.
Say is Ripple is one of the oldest existing cryptocurrencies in the U.S. A lot of people are not aware of the fact that Ripple was the subject of a government action back in 2015, where it signed an unusual kind of an agreement in the wake of a federal investigation on money laundering and other charges. It signed a settlement agreement. It wasn't a prosecutorial agreement, a deferred prosecution agreement or a plea agreement, but it was just a settlement agreement. But if you read it, it read very much like a deferred prosecution or even a plea agreement might read, in that there were a number of commitments and another number of acknowledgments of things that had happened. But it was prosecuted at the time. This case was brought in the context of the money transmitter rules and the FinCEN rules regulating money service businesses. Never really a discussion of securities. And it's important to note that in the agreement, there was a provision, like often you'll see in these agreements, it said doesn't preclude any other agency, any other governmental entity bringing action. So there's a lot of discussion for a long time between Ripple and the SEC on whether Ripple itself, XRP, was a security. Or is a security. That's actually an important term. Is it a security? The SEC back in 2018, through one of its top staffers, made the declaration, and this is hotly contested in the Ripple case, but made the comment that Bitcoin is not a security. And also said that Ether, as it existed, and this is 2018 timeframe, is not a security. But it was as of that date and time. Never cleared Ether when it was originally launched, when the Ethereum blockchain was launched. Did not clear Ether as being a security then. So what's been the issue here? And I'll keep it quite simple, because it's actually over a 100-page complaint that the SEC filed in the federal courts.
Listen to what she says.
And what's really at issue here is the way Ripple was created, or the XRP, the token, and the way it was held in the corporate treasury, and the way it was used over time was the way a company uses security. It was used for compensation. It was used for doing deals, for whatever it might be. And
there you have it, right? And that falls right in line with what we've talked about with Line 82. Ripple has undertook to achieve its goal of widespread adoption and distribution of XRP, exchanging XRP for non-cash consideration, such as labor and market-making services. This is where the rub is to the case. Where's the rub? It's right here. And you know what? It's also in this little quick clip right here with Brad Garlinghouse and Julia Chatterley back in the day. Take a listen.
It's quite funny. One of the big questions that I was asked when I was talking to people about XRP, they said, what price do you sell XRP to the financial institutions that you're dealing with here? Do you give them a discount, and is there a lockup? Can you answer those questions? Because this kept coming up.
Yeah, sure. So, let's use MoneyGram as the example. When MoneyGram is moving money from US dollar to Mexican peso, they're buying at market. They're not, there's no special sweetheart deal there. There are times when we work with institutional investors who might say, hey, we want to buy $10 million of XRP, and we would have lockups that would prevent them from dumping. We don't want some other party buying a whole lot of XRP and dumping it on the market. And so we would hypothetically have restrictions about what they could sell and what, how often. And usually those are based upon volume in the market.
Yeah, so you might give them it slightly cheaper, but you say to them, hey, you're not allowed to sell it for 6 months, let's say, or a year.
Yeah, correct. That's basically correct.
And there you have it, right? So there's the acknowledgement of options contracts that are pre-allocated to these customers, right? And they could be at discounted rates. And obviously, as they should, they have stipulations in them that restrict you dumping on the market because Ripple is responsible. The rub here is that, the SEC, Jay Clayton and Gary Gensler now, are making the argument that those contracts for that money agreement is constituting XRP as a security. Now, the options contract can be a security. Fine. Fine them. That's fine. Write the check and they're off to business. But the contract itself doesn't make the asset a security, right? But then again, in the end, do we leave this up to the court? Or do we actually see, because we know that Elizabeth Warren has activated FSOC and Janet Yellen. And as she said, if Congress doesn't act, the working group recommended that the Treasury Department's Financial Stability Oversight Council, FSOC, take steps to designate some stablecoin activities systemic risk. And if the World Bank is right, and the XRP token and XLM are in fact stable coins, you may just see the Treasury make the call and bring this thing in for a landing. That's going to do it for me, everybody. I'll catch all of you on the next one.